Hey knitters, welcome back to another episode of Rena Knits. I am Rena. Today we're gonna make a hat. It sounds easy. It's one of the easiest items to make and one of the most common items to make. But is it that easy using straight needles? Let's find out. In today's video, I'm gonna describe how to make a hat using straight needles. Now, when you're using circular needles, it's already coming out as a round format and it's already completely enclosed so that it could go over your head. But with straight needles, it isn't. So there's a few additional steps that you would need to take in order to finish up your hat. And with circular needles, you basically already create a stockinette pattern. With straight needles, you don't. So there are a few little changes that you have to make in your knitting in order to get a certain design and in order to make sure that the hat turns out like a hat and curves up at the top where it closes off. So definitely keep watching this video to learn how to make a hat using straight needles. To make a hat using straight needles, what we're going to use is the Red Heart Super Saver yarn. You choose the color of your liking, obviously, with a medium weight of 4. I usually go with the default 4 medium weight because it's thick enough but not too thin a yarn and not too soft a yarn. So I use medium weight 4, and we're going to use the default needle size that it tells us to use. So it's telling us to use the 5mm or US 8 needles. So we're going to use those to start making our hat. On your needles, what you're going to do is add the number of stitches you need for your hat. Now, if you don't want to use the gauge method, what my default is that I found is that for an infant or a toddler, it's 40 stitches. For a young child, it's 60 stitches. For a woman, it's 90 stitches. And for a man, it's 110 stitches that you would need. Why don't you cast on your 40, 60, 90, or 110 stitches that you need. And then once you have those cast on, we will start by making the border. Now, for this particular hat, what we're going to do is make the border a 1-inch border, and we're going to use the rib pattern. So if you don't know what the rib pattern is, definitely click on the link at the top of the screen to get a quick lesson on how to make the rib pattern. So I have 40 stitches that I've cast on, and I'm gonna do is 3-2 pattern. So 3 knit and 2 purl, and I'm gonna go all the way across doing the same pattern. 3 knit and 2 purl. Now once you've finished that one side, the first row, so in order to maintain that rib pattern, what you'd have to remember is on the wrong side or the inside side, you would need to follow it the opposite. So you would look at the stitches that you have. So wherever there's no bump, you would knit, and wherever you see a bump, you would purl. So basically when you did the right side, you did 3 knits and 2 purls. Here on the wrong side, you would do 2 knits and 3 purls. So just the opposite to maintain that pattern. So what I'm going to do is knit 2 and purl 3. And again, knit 2, and purl 3. And you would continue this particular pattern till your rib or your border measures 1 inch. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to click that like button. That I'll know the type of videos that you want to watch. And if you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe and alert button so you'll be aware of when the next video is posted. After you've done your 1 inch of the border, what you would then do is knit from beginning to where you're going to start decreasing, either another 5.5, 6.25, or 7.25. And the measurements are from the beginning of the hat to where you're going to start decreasing. The pattern I'm using here is basically the same thing as a rib, but instead I'm doing 4 knits and 1 purl. 4 knits, 1 purl. So I just continue this pattern throughout. You could either choose to keep it all stockinette, you could use a different pattern, but I wanted to keep it simple. From here to where you're going to start decreasing, knit the desired length. After you've knitted up to the length of the hat that you need, you're going to start decreasing to get it. Now, in those first 6 rows, what you want to do is decrease equally on both sides, 1 stitch every 2 rows. So on your front side, you would decrease 1 stitch here and decrease 1 stitch here. The back side, you would just knit. Then again, you would decrease 1 from either side. Back side, you would knit. And then the third time, you would decrease from either side, and back side, you would knit. And you don't want to decrease right in the beginning, so you want to decrease about 5 stitches in. So we're going to knit 5, and then decrease 2, and then knit remaining, and then we're going to knit till we have 7 stitches remaining. So we're going to knit all of this, then we're going to knit 2 together here, and then knit remaining 5, so that we're consistent on both sides. We're going to do that, then we're going to purl all the way through, and then we're again going to decrease 2 on either side. So now another thing you could do is maintain your pattern, whatever pattern you've decided to follow, and you could maintain that pattern as long as the stitches allow. So I'm going to knit 4, and then purl 1, as that is my pattern. There are my 5 stitches right there that I've knitted. Now I'm going to knit 2 together, and then maintain my pattern. Now if you're not sure, just look at your stitches to see whether it's a knit stitch or a purl stitch. A knit stitch is more flat, a purl stitch usually has that bump. So that's how you know the difference between the knit and a purl stitch. And then you maintain your pattern till you get to the 7 remaining stitches. So I'm here now. I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 remaining. So what I'm going to do is knit the next 2 together, and then maintain my pattern and finish knitting the remaining stitches. Once you've done that, your back row is basically either all purl, depending on which pattern you're doing, or maintaining your pattern itself, but just knit. There's no decrease in stitches. So after you've done the wrong side or the back side, the front side, you would do the same thing again. You would knit 5 and decrease 2. And then again, you would leave 7 at the end so that you could decrease 2 and then knit 5 again. So after knitting 5, I would decrease 2, so I would knit 2 together and then maintain my pattern till I get to the end. Okay, so now I have 7 remaining, so I'm going to knit 2 together and then finish off knitting the remaining 5. And then again, the wrong side, I'm just going to knit as I normally would until I get back on the right side and do the same thing again. Knit 5, decrease 2, or knit 2 together. Knit all the way, knit 2 together, and then knit 5. After that, because you don't want your hat to be too long, what you want to do is decrease 4. So you would decrease 2 on either side equally, and then you would decrease another 2 in the middle. So you would do that for the next 6 rows as well. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to knit as I was doing 5. Depending on the pattern, if you want to maintain that pattern, maintain that pattern. So I'm going to knit 4 and then purl 1, which makes it 5. Then I'm going to knit 2 together. That's my first stitch that I have decreased. So 3 more to go. So now I'm going to knit to get to the center. Now because I wanted even side both places, what I'm looking at is that I have 40 stitches. I had 40 stitches, now I have 34 stitches. I've knitted 5, decreased 2, I'm going to knit another 5, then I'm going to knit another 5. So I'm going to knit 10, then I'm going to decrease 2, then I'm going to decrease 2 right here equally, and then I'm going to knit and then decrease 2 here as well. So I'm going to basically decrease 2 together. And that. Now I'm going to decrease 2. So I'm going to knit 2 together. That's 1. And then knit 2 together again. That's 2. So I've decreased 2, so I've decreased 3. And my last one is going to be the same location that I have been doing. But I'm going to maintain my pattern. Three, 2, 4, 5. So these 2 I'm going to knit together, and then these 4 I'm going to knit, and my last one is a purl. There we go. And then my wrong side or my back side, I'm going to just do a normal all knitting. So I'm going to follow my pattern. And because you're starting to decrease, you might not be able to see the pattern too well. So you just have to look at your stitch to see whether it's a purl or a knit. And now again, I'm going to do the same thing. So on my right side again, I'm going to decrease 4 stitches in the same locations. So I'm going to knit 5, and then decrease 2, then knit 2, I get to the center, and there I'm going to decrease 2. So knit 2 together once, and then knit another 2 together, and then I'm going to continue my knitting till I get to the location where I'm supposed to decrease another stitch. Which is right here. So I'm going to knit 2 together and then finish off my row. And you're going to do this one more time. So the back side is all going to be all knit, and then you're going to decrease another 4 stitches the same way again. After you have done the 4 decreases, so 1 on either side and 2 in the middle, and you've done it for 6 rows, you are now going to start basically decreasing a lot quicker. You basically don't want your hat to become too long because you want it to end at a certain distance. So therefore, what we're going to now do is knit 2 together all the way through. So you're going to basically just knit 2 together all the way through. That's it. Then your back side or your wrong side is going to be all purl. So at this point, I'm basically just keeping a stockinette pattern. I am not worried about maintaining the pattern that I had. And now, I don't want to decrease again too fast. So I'm going to do just a knit, then another purl, and then I'm going to do another knit K2 together for the whole row. So we're just going to knit again, knit this row, the back side we're going to purl, and then this side we are going to, for the last time, do K2 together for the whole row. So the same way as we did before, we're just going to knit 2 together to decrease the number of stitches. And since I don't have any more, I'm just going to knit. So I now have 6 stitches remaining. So this is where I'm going to end. I don't have any more knits to do. What I'm now going to do is make this into a hat. What I'll need now is a needle, so a yarn needle, and I'm going to cut this yarn, leaving about 4 inches or so of thread because I need enough to thread throughout. So I'm going to cut roughly about here. I want to make sure I have enough so that I could basically stitch all the way down. So we're going to do this. Put this here. We're going to take this and just take it through. And close this tightly so I don't lose any stitches. And then what you want to do is actually fold this on the outside in. So fold it this way and then start knitting through. And you want to take the stitches that are on the outside. So basically you want to take the first few stitches and just start knitting through, and then take the next one over and then keep doing it this way. Now I usually make sure I take each. I don't skip any of these simply because I don't want any holes or too big a hole in between. Now at the end here, I'm going to just take my needle and just weave some of the yarn through so that it locks it into place. But I'm going to go with the stitches so it doesn't appear like it's coming out, like it's different from the other side. And then I'm just going to create a knot. And cut the extra yarn out. Now you could finish cleaning up by weaving some of the extra yarn that you have through the stitches. So make sure you go along the pattern so that way then it appears to be one whole thing. It blends with your pattern rather than sticking out. And if you flip it over to the right side, you got yourself a hat. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do try out making a hat using straight needles and let me know in the comment section how it turned out. And definitely share those hats with me on my Instagram channel, on my Instagram. And definitely share those hat pictures on my Instagram. Until next time, relax, enjoy, and keep knitting.